What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. Today I'm going to share with you 3 recent returns that I just got back in the mail and give you the profile of each of the individuals that signed for me. So we're going to jump right into this, and the first one is postmarked from South Carolina, and it is a return from former Minnesota Vikings great Bobby Bryant on 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these were the only 4 that I had, so I sent 2 of the same card twice, and luckily he signed all 4 of them and returned them. In addition to his return, he also included a testimonial pamphlet with his website listed at the bottom there, so I'll lay that here as well. But you can see that it's quite a lot of reading about Scripture and God and his relationship with God. I'm not going to read all of that to you, but I'm sure if you go to the website listed right here, you can learn all about Bobby Bryant and his relationship with God. So let me tell you about Bobby Bryant and his career in football. Bobby Bryant attended high school in Georgia. He excelled at football, basketball, track and field, and baseball while in high school. He was recruited to play at the University of South Carolina by Weems Baskin in 1963. Baskin was both the track coach and a football assistant coach, and they nicknamed Bryant Bones because of his lanky frame. He ended up only just playing football and baseball at the university. And before we jump into his football accolades, he was apparently quite the presence on the pitching mound while he played at South Carolina. He was awarded the ACC Athlete of the Year in 1967 for his pitching, where he struck out 100 batters in that season, becoming the first South Carolina pitcher to ever do so. He was also selected twice in the MLB draft, once his junior season by the Yankees, and then again his senior season by the Boston Red Sox. But instead, Bobby decided that his love was with football, and he stayed with football. So during his college tenure, he had a punt return that was actually 98 yards. He was a defensive back and punt returns and kick returns while he was in college. Well, after his exceptional years in college, he dropped down to the 7th round in 1967 to be drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. Well, unfortunately, he had a knee injury before he signed officially with the Vikings, and he instead spent his rookie season playing for the Des Moines Warriors for the Minor Professional Football League of America, the PFLA at the time, and that's where he spent the 1967 season. A season later, he began his career with the Vikings in 1968. Bryant was used as both a defensive back and a returner on punts and kicks for his rookie season, and he soon became known for blowing kisses to the crowd when he returned the kicks. He returned 19 kicks for 373 yards to go with 10 punt returns for 49 yards. He had his first interception against the New Orleans Saints in October of that year. Improving readily, in 1969 he played in 10 games. He made 8 interceptions in those 10 games. That's not bad, which would prove to be a career high. He ranked second in interceptions in the NFL next to Lynn Barney and Mel Emfro that year. The following year he would appear in 11 games. His interceptions would go down to only 3. He went from 8 to 3. And he would then continue to be a primary threat in the backfield for the Vikings until 1974, when an injury forced him to only appear in 1 game in the 1974 season. Well, instead of being down about his injury, Bobby came back in 1975, and he appeared in 14 of 14 games for the Vikings, appearing in his first Pro Bowl of his career at the age of 31 years old. The following year, he would appear in 12 games, not as a starter, only starting 3, but he would make his second Pro Bowl. The next year in 1977, he would be starting in all 14 games and back to normal at the age of 33, but this time didn't make the Pro Bowl. Bryant would stay in the backfield of the Vikings until 1980, where he would appear in 14 games for them that season. And after his 1980 season, at the age of 36 years old, he would hang up the cleats and he would no longer play in the NFL. In total, Bryant would play in 161 games for the Minnesota Vikings. He would have 51 interceptions in his career in the backfield, starting 128 of those games. He would have multiple kick and punt returns, throughout his career as well. At the time of his retirement, Bryant ranked 10th all-time in interceptions on the all-time interceptions list, having become one of 18 players at the time to have recorded 50 or more interceptions as a player. He also had another 6 interceptions during his 14 postseason games in his career playing for the Vikings. After retiring from the Vikings, he lived briefly in Minnesota, but decided to relocate back to Columbia, South Carolina, and he worked for an auto glass company, or an auto glass replacement company, in sales after his playing career in the NFL. He is now retired in South Carolina, so I'm not really sure if he's still working in the auto glass industry or not, or if he's enjoying retirement as a former NFL player. I want to thank Mr. Bryant for sending his testimonial pamphlet to me. I also want to thank him for signing these cards for me, and we'll move on to the next one. Alright, so this next one is postmarked from New Jersey, and it is indeed a return from former New York Jets great Joe Fields on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let me tell you about Joe Fields and his career in football. Fields, a native of New Jersey, grew up and attended a Catholic high school in New Jersey. He went to play his college football at little-known Widener University in Chester, Pennsylvania. He was drafted in just the 14th round in the 1975 NFL Draft by the New York Jets. The little-known Fields joined the Jets in 1975 at the age of 22, and he was the backup center his first rookie season, appearing in all 14 games for the Jets. The following year, he would appear in 14 games again, but he would start 10 of those games. By 1977, he was the starting center for the Jets, and he started in all 14 games for the Jets that season. Fields would be a mainstay in the starting lineup for the Jets, and finally in 1981, he would make his first Pro Bowl as a member of the New York Jets as their center. The following year in 1982, he would make his second Pro Bowl. However, the season would be cut short due to an injury, and he would only appear in just 9 games that year in 1982. In 1983, he would return, and he would appear in 12 games, starting 12 games for the team that year. He would play all the way through 1987 with the New York Jets, and then in 1988, he would sign and go across town and play for the New York Giants his final season in 1988 as the backup center. The Giants didn't offer him a contract in the 1989 season, and Joe decided to retire from football. Well, not bad from somebody that was drafted overall 349th overall in the 1975 draft. This guy played in 186 NFL games despite being drafted 349th overall. He didn't start all 186, but he started 155 of those games playing as an offensive lineman, snapping the ball at center. That is just an amazing run. A 13-year career with the Jets, a 14-year overall career if you count his time with the Giants. So again, this is one of those guys that was probably one of the best at his positions for a long, long time. And because he was so unknown, he went undrafted, but he worked super, super hard to become an NFL player. So after Fields retired from his NFL playing career, he wrote a book with his former teammate and roommate Joe Klecko, and the book was called Nose to Nose Survival in the Trenches of the NFL. Him and Klecko used to go at it in practice all the time, so it shares a story. I've never read the book, so if it's out there, definitely try to pick it up if you can. After he retired from football and writing books, he became a contractor for a director for a stoneworking company in New Jersey, which is what he did till he retired, eventually for good. And Joe was also elected to the Widener University Athletic Hall of Fame, which wouldn't see why not. Widener University is not a really well-known athletic institution, so definitely somebody like Joe Fields definitely belongs in that Hall of Fame. So we'll move on to the next one, and the next one is postmarked from West Palm Beach, Florida, and it is former Miami Dolphin great Glenn Blackwood on 4 of 4, including one card with his brother Lyle on it. I have written Lyle before in the past, and I've talked about him on this channel, so definitely check out that video right here in the corner if you get a chance. I will talk about him. So let me tell you about Glenn Blackwood and his career in football. As I mentioned, Glenn is the younger brother of Lyle Blackwood, longtime NFL football player. Glenn attended high school in San Antonio, Texas, and then would later go to play college football for the Texas Longhorns. He attended the University of Texas, where he played from 1975 to 78, and in 1978 he was the team's captain. He led the team in interceptions in 1977 when Texas was ranked number 1 for most of the season. And he also was part of the perfect 11-0 season that played for the national championship team at the University of Texas. Glenn was drafted by the Miami Dolphins in the 8th round in the 1979 NFL Draft. He even became a starter his rookie season and continued to start until the end of his career, actually. In his second season, he started 16 games and actually led the league in fumble recoveries that year. In 1981, the following year, his brother Lyle would join the Miami Dolphins, and him and his brother would be in the backfield from 1981 to 1986 together. Because of their hard-nosed play, the Blackwood brothers were nicknamed the Bruise Brothers, and forever they've been known as that, as the nickname stuck. Glenn Blackwood finished his career with 29 interceptions and 13 fumble recoveries. Over a career that lasted from 1979 to 1987, he appeared in 118 games for the Dolphins and had 29 interceptions. Blackwood was named to the Dolphins' 50 best players in their first 50 seasons in the year 2015. After retirement as a player, Blackwood stayed in Florida, where he raised his family. His son, Jake Blackwood, actually played football at Georgia Tech. While his son was in high school, he actually was the head football coach at his West Palm Beach, Florida high school. So that's pretty cool that Glenn was able to coach his own son, in high school, and his son went on to play collegiately after his career. I want to thank Mr. Blackwood for signing. I'm obviously going to try to send this one to his brother Lyle to complete the card. Like I mentioned, I had written Lyle before in the past before I realized I had this card. So now I have to write Lyle again, and hopefully he'll oblige and sign this to complete the card with his brother. So I want to thank Mr. Joe Fields for signing for me as well. One of the all-time great New York Jets. If you aren't familiar with Mr. Fields, he definitely had a great career. Actually, all of these guys had a great career. Bobby Bryant, I also want to thank for signing his cards as well. Until I did this video, I had no realization that Bobby Bryant was a superb baseball player as well. So I want to thank you for taking the time to learn about some NFL players from the past, from the 1970s. I look forward to your comments below, and as always, happy collecting.